Okay, in the next 1 minute, we would commence. The next 1 minute, we would commence. Thank you, John. Thank you. You're joining from Egbeda, Lagos, Southwest Nigeria, West Africa, continent of Africa. That's a glad to know. Thank you, Gladys, also for joining us from Lagos. Thank you. It's a national program, and I can see that it's a full house already. Okay. So thank you. It's 8:14 p.m. West African time, and I'm glad to start this event. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 13th edition of Workplace Conversations. My name is Olumuyiwa Oludayo. I'm the moderator and the convener of Workplace Conversations. It's a great privilege to be with you today, and always a great privilege to be able to share thoughts with you, with my colleagues, to share thoughts with you, with my colleagues, our speakers. It's always a delight to do so. We've been doing this for a few months now. 13 editions means 13 months. And so this is the first edition of, maybe call it a new year, a new calendar year for us. So welcome to the 13th edition of Workplace Conversations. And this year has followed a very structured approach in our line of inquiry into the Nigerian workplace. Particularly in the last few months, one critical conversation that's come out is a conversation from the Money Point CEO that talked about the fact that Nigeria has not got the talent to match the global demand for talent. And quite a number of people had their comments, many commentaries around that. But for today, I mean, we have dealt with that in the last edition of Workplace Conversation. We're going to be sharing with you the link to our previous conversation so that you'll be able to share and learn and grab and possibly use that to refresh your thoughts about the workplace. So, for this particular edition that we have titled People Leave Managers, Not Jobs, we're trying to answer the manager capability question. And that's what we're really doing. We want to answer the manager capability question. But before we go into it, it's important I let you know a bit of statistics. So I'm big on data. I'm big on having to bring evidence to the table. The National Bureau of Statistics Labor Force Survey, the NBS of Nigeria, in Q1 of 2024, that data showed that 80%, over 80% of employed Nigerians operate in self-employment. Over 80% of employed Nigerians operate in self-employment, and with over 10% of them classified as time-related underemployed. And this pattern reflects a labor market where structure, supervision, and developmental pathways are very limited. People are not able to work in a place where they are structured. They don't have many supervisors over them. They are not able to seek and follow through a very clear path of development. That same Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, in her Consumer Price Index report in December of 2025, just a few months ago, they reported that the headline inflation in Nigeria is about 15.15%, and that food inflation is about 22%. And this shapes the economic experience of work across households. Global evidence complements this reality because I love to read from the Microsoft Work Trend Index. The Microsoft Work Trend Index of 2024 reports that there's a high fragmentation of the workday, with significant portions of time that is consumed by either coordination or of activity rather than focus or execution, really. In the International Labour Organization in 2023 has linked sustained workload pressure to declining work quality and elevated psychosocial risk. So you will realize that many people are not doing so well, even though they have the competence, because of pressure. So we talked about, some time ago, we talked about the capability question, competence versus capacity. And so within all of these conditions, the managerial role carries very defined responsibilities. The manager is is at the crux of the matter, the heart of every matter that has to do with productivity. Okay? And the manager carries that defined responsibility. He's responsible for translating strategy into executable priorities. He's responsible for allocation of work and time. He distributes work so that the workload is such that people can bear. He's responsible for the development of the capability of his team and the people around him. And he's also responsible for communicating expectations and performance standards. Now, the effectiveness of all of these responsibilities determines how work is experienced and how value is created. The leader and the manager who cannot get these things done, the challenge that faces him is such that he misleads the people, or he mismanages them, or he or she is not able to get the best out of them. And that's why the focus of tonight is on people leave managers, not jobs. We're looking at the manager capability question. Okay, we're looking at how do we help the manager to be able to get this done. And in a moment, we'll get into the conversation, but it's my privilege to let you know some of the offerings that we have, from the things I do personally. On a weekly basis. Frequently, I post what I call my morning muse. My morning muse is a daily, weekly, um, inspirational guide that helps you to find inspiration for your next journey. It's a self improvement and personal development platform that is shared across some of my channels. My colleague is on the call, and he would drop the links to uh, some of the things that we're doing here. Joshua's just dropped the link in the chat for Workplace Conversations, the previous editions. You can get a hold of it, of the previous edition of the Workplace Conversation. Just click on the YouTube link. You may want to subscribe to the channel so you can be notified anytime a new video comes out. Like tonight's video should be out later tonight or first thing in the morning. The second thing that we do is about Phrases and Insights. Phrases and Insights is a platform where I take a book and I distill it. Right here in my hand tonight, and I'm sure many of you will be seeing what I'm about to hold in my hand for the very first time. It's a book written by one of my friends who just marked her 40th birthday today, Dr. Love Oyedepo. Not sure you can see it. Dr. Love Oyedepo just published a book titled Becoming Her. The book in my hand here titled Becoming Her, right? Becoming Her. Very, very lovely book. It's about a 400-page book. Becoming Her, rooted and grounded in Him. It's a faith-based book, but
Sorry, your voice is a bit low, so we didn't really get the title of the book.
my voice is a bit low.
Yeah, yeah, it's better now.
Oh, okay. All
Mm.
right. My mouth was quite far from it. Okay, so you can hear me now. So the title of the book is Becoming Her. Becoming Her. Okay, that's it on the screen. Becoming Her by Dr. Love Oyedepo. I imagine that. I imagine that. Uh, I just imagine that she wants to be able to share some things from her faith, and that's one of the things we do with Phrases and Insights. So with Phrases and Insights, what we do is that we get to take a book and distill it across four principles. I mean, four frameworks. Number one, we extract the principles from the book. Number two, we extract what we call insights from the book. Number three, we make our commentaries on the book, and then we look out for key phrases on the book. So those four key things are the things we share on Phrases and Insights. Joshua will drop the link to Phrases and Insights Instagram handle so you can see the previous works that we have done and find it as a place to get some rich resources for your own growth. We're here at Workplace Conversations, and this is the 13th edition, like I said. Again, we also run what I call the personal transformation seminars. I run the personal transformation seminars. The idea is to help people change. You see, change is the only constant thing in life, and you are not good enough to remain the way you are. You are not good enough to remain the way you are. If you will take time to pay attention to your own transformation, your own change processes, you possibly will be leading a better life. And so next month, I'm going to be sharing that information shortly. Next month, we'll have a session that I'm inviting people to join. Next month, I think it's July. a session for people to join, and let's see how we can get things going. The fifth thing I want you to pay attention to is the public speaking masterclass. Last month or 2 months ago, we talked about how to become an entrepreneurial speaker, how to make a lot of money speaking. I remember many years ago when I started to speak, my the the first amount of money I earned speaking was 30,000 naira after speaking for 13 weeks. After speaking for 26 hours, I got 30,000 naira. But today we have moved way past that, and we do a lot of we do well more than that now. I mean, thanks to growth and thanks to the opportunities that come from clients and professional colleagues. So the invitations now come, and I do well. I mean, I do well more than multiples of what I used to do before. And there's a system towards it. What I've done is that I've shared in that meeting that I had held last month, all the principles that leads or that can lead you to becoming an entrepreneurial speaker. How do you begin to draw commercial value from your expertise in a presentation? I'm a faith-based person, so the sixth thing there is about biblical insights for professionals. It's not out yet. Is still in conception. The gestation period is a long one, and when it comes out, you know more about it. But as the name says, it's biblical insights for professionals. I want to draw value from the Bible to help who all the professionals who need some kind of guidance around and from their faith. I think that becomes something useful for you to do. Joshua, you may want to check the links that you just dropped, particularly the one for Money Muse. I mean, I can see some things that are not highlighted. Same for Public Speaking Masterclass. Same for Becoming a Consultant at Kings. You may want to check it out again to be sure that you dropped the right thing. Okay. And then there's becoming a consultant to kings. Many of us here have, maybe you're like that data that I just shared now. People, you work for yourself or you work to support other businesses. There is a chance for you to build your consulting practice. Becoming a consultant to kings means how to solve problems of people with influence, how to solve problems of people with influence. We have had 2 editions or 3 so far. uh, they are on our YouTube channel, but I can assure you that later this year we're going to have another one. It's the only paid event that I do. It's the only paid event that I do. All of the events that I do are as free as you can see them today. Okay, I'm just going to get out of the way and not stop you from benefiting from tonight's session. So right now, what we have upcoming events in June 28, 2026, 7 p.m. on that day, we'll be having becoming a value-adding person. You will be the audience of that day will be the first to have a sneak peek into my book that is coming out shortly, hopefully before the end of the year. It's titled Becoming a Value-Adding Personality. And what I'm going to be sharing here will be 6 zones, 6 value creation zones. You don't want to miss it. June 28, 2026. All of these links also will be dropped for you in the chat so you can be a part of it in June. And then by the end of June, we will have crossed the first half of the year and we'll be coming into July for the second half of the year. And that's why in the second half of the year, by July, we're going to be having for the very first time ever, Producing Better Results Mid-Year Review. Producing Better Results is also a paid program that holds in January. It holds in January every year. We've had it now for the past 5 years. For the past 5 years, we've been doing this every year, January, helping people get ready for the new year. And it's called Producing Better Results. But this is the first time we're having a mid-year review. And this mid-year review is free. It's not a paid event. So we're doing it. It's titled "In Pursuit of Improvement." How do you look out for improvement? You've done something from January to June. How do you want to get better results? And so that's what I'm going to be doing. July 25, 2026. July 25, 2026 is something I'm inviting you to be a part of. And I'm hoping that you will do well to join us. Most of the events we do are in the evenings of the weekends. And the idea is so that people in diaspora can also be able to join us, particularly for workplace conversations. We do it on Sunday evenings so that people can get refreshed ahead of the new work week, so that people can just have better insights for the new work week. Okay, that's why we do that. Now, let me get out of your way and introduce our speakers for tonight to you. The managerial role operates at the point where organizational intent becomes the employee's experience. Again, the managerial role operates at the point where organizational intent becomes the employee's experience. Can I please welcome our first panelist for today, Nnedinma Okeke. Nnedinma, I call her Nene, so let me just call the full name for possible introduction, but she's my darling and delectable Nene. Nene brings experience in human resources, organizational culture, and employee experience. Um, the kind of work that she does engages this relationship very directly through leadership behavior, performance systems, and workplace climate. Today, she serves as the head of human resources for Counter House Consultants Limited, and we're very glad to have her. Hello, Nene. Are you here? Welcome.
Hi, Muyiwa. Thank you.
Great. I'm sure at the right time, our panelists will see your face, your delectable and amazing, lovely face. Okay. Our second speaker, and here comes Nene. I think she was about to show herself. Yes, so that's the delectable lady. Okay, so let's the second speaker is my longtime friend. I've known him now 20 years, over 2 decades, right? Ebenezer Akinyemi. He works in organizational effectiveness and talent development and aligns with some of the evidences that we have shared today. His experience engages how managerial capability is built, assessed, and deployed in practice. We have been in the trenches together for a couple of clients. He's a brother and one person I know that does very well with leading teams. Ebenezer is currently the commercial manager for Rough and Tumble. And that brand seems to sound strong and it reverberates in people's hearts. And I'm excited to have Ebenezer join us tonight. He's the only dark person in the room, so let the lights come on. Ebenezer.
Hi, good evening.
So Ebenezer is here. All right. Now let me get out of your way, everyone, and let's have our speakers take the floor. Okay, amazing, amazing, amazing. I can't wait to hear their thoughts, and I'm hoping that we all will benefit from it. Okay, Nene, I'm going to start with you. But before then, let me give a voice to our, our participants, all those joining us for the very first time today, all of you joining us today. I'd like to hear your voice. Before the speakers will have a voice, I want you to be able to direct the slant of their conversation by sharing a poll. I'm just going to be launching a poll now. If you check, you possibly have seen a poll on the screen. I can tell that the poll has come up. If you can see it, can you please respond to the question that you have on your screen? Now, everybody, which outcome reflects the strongest impact of managerial capability in your organization? Which outcome reflects the strongest impact of managerial capability in your organization? Thank you for the person who's voted. We're getting it in. Thank you, everyone. You need to vote now. This is how we ensure that we can provide value for ourselves. Okay. Which outcome reflects the strongest impact of managerial capability in your organization? You can do more. Only about 40% of us on the call have voted. You need to do better. 45% now, 48%. Don't just be an onlooker in this meeting. You need to be a participant. So I'm asking you to please take your time and respond. 48% have voted. I need more people to vote so we can have some kind of perspective to this tonight. I will start to call your names if I don't see the votes rising. I see a number of people who are coming again and again. I see a number of people who have come for our programs, and I can see you again. Thank you, John. You've been a previous speaker. Thank you for joining us tonight. Always a great privilege to see you. You're also a great brother. Thank you, Taiwo Olajide. You've also been a speaker at this event. Thank you, Tosin. You've been here again. Sheyi, we should welcome you. You're a first timer. Ruth has been a consistent person. Nkem Olajide consistently joining us. Chinwe has also been joining us. Thank you so much. We recognize you all, and we're glad that you have made this worthwhile. For those of you joining because of the speakers, thank you for joining to honor them and to show them that you're here with them. 70% of people have voted. We need a few more persons to turn in their votes. I know a number of people have brought in their note takers to be here, so we may not get 100% of it all, but I'm sure that we'll get a few more, just a few more, and then I'll share the results of the poll with you. Just one question for the rest of the day, and 76% have voted. Maybe we get okay, two more people. If two more people should vote, or maybe one more person should vote, I'm sure we're going to be in the right place. And as a person voted, just one more person, and then we're good. Yes, we're good. Thank you very much, everyone. Can I show you the result? Are you interested in seeing the result? And here it goes. Now, which outcome reflects the strongest impact of managerial capability in your organization? Our report tonight from you all says productivity levels, right? So performance seems to be it. Performance, call it performance management. So it's about the results. The outcome that reflects the strongest impact of your manager's capability is the results. So does that not tell us something very significant? The way to show me that you are capable of leading is by the results that your people produce. That's all we're saying here. The way to show me that you are capable of leading is by telling me and showing me how you have been able to deliver results through people. I think CIPM is the one that says we deliver results through people. I think that's what CIPM says all the time, that we deliver results through people. So it's glad to be. Thank you very much, everyone. And I don't know how that resonates with you. Do you want to share a few thoughts before I ask my speakers to say a few words? Let me see. Forgive me, ma. I'm going to call you Auntie Sheyi now. What do you think about the results that we just saw? What do you think about the results that people say that the greatest outcome of their leaders is in the results they bring to the table? What does that say?
Well, because at the end of the day, I mean, what have you been employed to do is to manage for results? And the result is the outcome that would indicate, I mean, those are key performance indicators of the growth and sustainability of the business.
Right.
So, like one of my mentors always say, effort without success is failure. So there's no, you know, you might be making all the efforts, but if it's not going anywhere, you're turning the wheel, but it's not blowing any wind. So, what's the
Right.
point? Yeah.
Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah. So I mean, we deliver results through people. Taiwo Lajide, thank you for your thoughts. John, what do you think about these results that you've just seen? John Mote, what does this tell you? You've been across L&D space, you're now in financial services. The result of the poll say the manager's capability is largely defined by the productivity levels in the organization. Do you have any thoughts to share on that, John?
Yes, please. Okay, thank you
Yes.
very much, Doctor. So, at the end of the whole essence of every business, right, is to see that the strategic goals of the business is achieved, and what is a measuring achievement is the results that that you are able to the result that you're able to see through measurable metric. So I remember talking about productivity levels. Really, we are looking at it holistically. It's not just one aspect of results. We are talking about for a manager to be able to produce results. The manager will actually produce results through talents, right? So the ability of the manager to use those resources, both human, financial, material resources, and technology, to produce the results that is needed in the organization is what actually shows the capability of that manager. So it's not just
Right.
looking at the results from the output, but how you're able to integrate every factor of results production to see the necessary results. So thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, John. I'm giving you all the voice because the moment that my speakers begin to speak, they will be validating these things. I mean, I've checked their pulse, they are on fire. Nkem, let me get your thoughts finally. Maybe Sheyi can speak. I'll call you after Nkem just to get your thoughts. Nkem Olajide, you saw that poll, you possibly voted. Were you surprised at the outcome of the poll? And what did you choose when you voted, Nkem?
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Nkem.
For me, I chose productivity because as a manager, it's the outcome that actually determines or convince people that you are doing the right thing. If your team members are not showing the right results or they are not delivering on their task, it invariably means that you are not giving them the right leadership. That's just my thought.
Right.
So I went for productivity level as well.
Thank you, Nkem. Thank you. Sheyadeyemi, are you able to speak? Does this result go across geographies? Do you think the results also speaks about, I mean, for those of you in Canada, is it the same thing? Is it seeing the same thing?
Yes, I would say it's the same thing because I mean, at the end of the day, like one of the speakers said, it's about productivity. It's about what you are bringing to the table, right? So, having worked across different organizations and private and public sector, I will assume that yes, it's all about being effective on the job, like delivering results.
Right. Thank you so much. So our conclusion is valid, and that's not to say that the rest of us that chose other things did not get it correctly. It just shows that the most important defining factor for a manager's capability is the productivity levels. Now, let us shift our screens and look at our speakers. Nene, I'm going to be starting with you. Let's talk about observable managerial capability, what we can see. There's a Gallup research of 2023, and that research indicates that the manager quality, the quality of the manager significantly influences employee engagement and retention. For you, really, I want to find out. I mean, you've been there leading, I've been part of your organization, I've been part of how you lead teams. I want to ask you, which specific managerial behaviors have the strongest measurable impact on employee outcomes? In your own experience, which specific managerial behaviors have the strongest measurable impact on your outcomes? And I know you want to welcome people that you have also possibly invited here tonight. Over to you, Nene.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Muyiwa. Before I start saying which one and which is not, I'd like to recognize my mentor, Chinwe Uzu. She joined all the way from Abuja, and if I would like to speak a bit about her, if you want to talk about anything concerning regulatory affairs in Nigeria and even within West Africa area, she's your plug to go to. Hi, Mommy
Right.
Chi, I would always call her. She's been my mentor for many years. I'm not looking at the people list as well, but I know that my friend from Portugal too saw my DP and was like, "Oh, she's going to join." That's
Right.
Adigo and Onye Ori. I don't
Right.
know whether she joined. Ada, if you're
Right.
here, hi, thank you. All of us are having this conversation together. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, Muyiwa, back to your question. You are asking which specific managerial behaviors have the strongest impact on an employee outcomes within an organization. Okay, so there are so many ways to look at this. We look at the clarity of expectations. We look at prioritization of discipline. There's also debate about the quality of feedback and as well as the performance accountability. If we also put all these things together, we saw the outcome of the poll that just happened now, where everybody went for productivity levels and all that. But for me, the success of what I have achieved at Counterhouse Consultants Limited today, in terms of impact and the result, is on clarity of expectations. And how do I mean on that? On clarity of expectations, you define outcomes from day one. Through
Mm,
onboarding, you set out what
mm,
the employee is to achieve. You talk about the performance metrics. You talk about, okay, this is how we measure performance here. And the manager is able to communicate the vision, the mission, and everything about the organization. So when you sum up all these things together, for me, the biggest impact in whatever a manager is doing is being able to communicate. And how does that happen? You look at the job description an employee is getting. You look at the organizational goals of the organization or the objectives of the organization in the year. And at the end of the day, we are now measuring results. Because everyone is also involved in the vision and the
mhm.
organizational goal for that particular year, you find out that at the end of the year, we will be talking about a fantastic result, which is now the outcome of the poll we had this evening, productivity level. So everybody becomes highly connected to what is happening within the organization. And at the end of the day, this is how a manager is being measured. Thank you very much. I'll pause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nene. Clarity of expectations for you will come tops as that specific managerial behavior that helps to ensure that outcomes are good. And I like that. You see, someone once said, I mean, I think I don't know who said it on the call that said effort without success, it's just like you have wasted your effort. I mean, you've just wasted your resources. And so clarity of expectations, I mean, it's important that people must be sure of what they are aiming at. You don't want to fire blank. You don't want to fire blank. You don't want to appear in the office and you're saying, what exactly are you doing? People will just be coasting along when there's no clarity. Thank you so much, Nene. I appreciate that. Ebenezer, let's come to you. Let's come to you, Ebenezer. And for you, the question I want to find out from you is, again, from an evidence place, the World Economic Forum. I read a lot of their reports. I read a lot of reports from the World Economic Forum. And in 2024, they identified leadership capability as a core driver of performance. Leadership capability as a core driver of performance, particularly in complex environments. And where you work, I can tell you, I can bet that is a complex environment. So my question to you is this: how do organizations currently define managerial capability? We have said today that managerial capability is responsible for productivity levels, but how exactly how do we exactly define managerial capability? And how does that definition align with the demands of execution? Over to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Dr. Miwa. It's good to be here. So for me, I would like to look at it from a very dynamic angle, which is talking about the competencies for managers. What we have in most companies these days, because you are good at your job, you get promoted to become a manager. And that's more of it's more of evaluating your technical competencies, basically. And leadership is way beyond knowing how to do the job, is knowing how to get the job done through people. And this is where the gap begins to show in most companies. A lot, you see, where I've worked in the retail space for quite a while, and one of the most occurrences we have is, a store, someone at the store is performing well, and before you know it, you make them a store supervisor, you make them a store manager, and you forget that the competence they have in delivering sales is different from the competence they need to be a good manager. And the results start to show 3 months, 6 months into the work. You start to see that what you have promoted them for is really not showing. The results you intend to get is not what you're getting because, you've taken them from their core, the skills that they have, that they have majored in, you've taken them away from it to managing people. And a lot of them really just miss out in understanding how to manage people. So for me, it's how do companies measure the question, how do organizations define managerial capability? One is through technical competence. The other is really appraising their leadership competence. majority of companies that I have seen interface with mostly focus on the technical competencies, which is very one-sided. The fact that you're good at the job does not mean you're a good leader, does not mean you're a good manager. It's totally different. One is very work-based, technical based. The other is relationship based. Managing people is well, I don't want to turn this to a leadership class, but managing people is one of the hardest things to do. It's it goes beyond A plus B equals to C. Understanding the person you are relating with, or understanding the person you are managing, and understanding how their own skills come to play in achieving their job. Secondly, it's what I call clarity of role. Nene has mentioned that earlier. A lot of people get promoted, like I said, into becoming managers, and then there is no clear definition of what their task has become. They still face work like the regular day-to-day, face work like they have always done, not understanding that your role has clearly changed. The deliverables you are expected, the things you're expected to deliver on has also changed. So clarity of role is also one of the key things that organizations need to take seriously when appraising who a manager should be. And lastly, it's for me, it's about the framework that really guides this whole conversation, which is really leadership, which is how to manage people. People get into roles they are not prepared for, and they don't succeed at it not because they really don't know what to do, but they don't know how to get the results. So for me, organizations should focus on, yes, defining the technical competencies required for a manager, but also defining the leadership capabilities that the managers need to have to get the result done, to get their job done, which is really very, very important. So just to land on that, for me, it's you need to know that as a manager, your job is to assess the job, assess the people you are working with, guide them to achieve the result, and coach them to achieve the result also, because different leadership approaches into getting results. Some people you need to mentor them, some people you need to guide them. So basically for me, it's really understanding these competencies around what it takes to be a manager and guiding them to do it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ebenezer. This is a workplace conversation, so it's permitted to have people drop in and share their thoughts and additional thoughts. I see a hand up. Please. Okay, Andisha, it's you. Okay, let's have you. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, I mean, I was so excited. You kind of spot something in me, Ebenezer. And I love the fact that you dimensioned the aspect of having technical competence and leadership competence. Now, most times you find out that, when we talk about the domains of executive presence, you begin to talk about, areas of those social skills that you need to have that actually allows you to navigate the workplace. Yeah. And unfortunately, what we have in the business world today, a lot of people are not prepared for leadership. We are prepared for managership. And it's leadership that actually leads and cultivates people, that nurtures people, cultivates them and develops them, empowers them and enables them. That's leadership. Managerialship allows us to manage process, policy. Now, most times you find out that when you are in position of leadership and you're not able to really decipher which cap you should wear when you are dealing with people, because I like what the first speaker mentioned when she actually hinged her thoughts on communication, right? And the responsibility of leadership or a manager, and permit me to use more of the word leadership, because For you to have been a manager, it means you're technically sound. So for me, your technical ability is not in question. It
Right.
means you have it. Now, again, it now depends on the organization, because what I've seen over the 16 years of consulting is we see even organizations that do not even understand what the system of leadership or management structure is all about. So you see somebody that's just finished school in 5 years or 3 years, and then the next thing you say is a manager. You give them somebody that has not even developed its own technical competence, cannot even lead, gather data, talk less of, we talk about the different proficiencies that you need to have. So most times, even organizations don't prepare their managers for those roles. So most times the managers are always, yes, I love something you said. You said because people achieve results. So technically, they give you the role of manager. Whereas you haven't even finished leading yourself.
Right.
So it's very
Yeah.
critical that we are able to dimension that, and we begin. If you find yourself in positions of leadership, most times you find out that this is particularly not every organization is ready to train anybody.
That's right. Self-delusion.
No, no.
Thank you.
So you have, it behoves you to be, and for you to move up the ladder, you will start seeing that you are moving away from the zone of your technical ability. You are moving into the zone of leadership. You are moving into the zone of social networking. You are moving in, and so it's
Mm-hmm.
about people at some point in time
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
you move higher. So it's about your social capital. How are you able to galvanize that? And when you're able to
Right.
do that, you realize that you are able to manage both vertical relationship and horizontal relationship, and you're able to
Thank you.
galvanize them. We when we're talking about leadership, we talk about bad leadership and good leadership, and we begin to call some names. Adolf Hitler, he was a fantastic leader.
Amazing. Amazing.
He was a fantastic leader because he was able to influence people. He was
Right.
able to change their mindsets. You
Right.
understand? To achieve a goal. The point is they had a goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did they achieve that goal?
Mm-hmm.
I rest my case.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you so much. And I like that dimension that you brought, perspective that you brought into it. It helps us to know that I mean, Ebenezer, thank you so much. It's not about technical competence. And for those of us who work in professional settings, you work with consultants, maybe they are IT people like Nene does. You work with people who are specialists in deploying things or implementation and all of that, or you work in an engineering company, or you even work in academia. You realize that somebody who is a great publisher, I can see the head of HR of Covenant University on this call. Thank you, Mr. George, for joining us. I mean, you work in and you find out that you work in academia, that somebody is a good teacher or a good researcher does not mean he can become a good HOD. He can be able to get along with students, pass across the knowledge, but he's not able to get there. I mean, today, Nene, you have identified Chinwe Uzu as somebody who is not just technically sound, but somebody who has also groomed you, who has played a role in your development. And I know if Chinwe has an opportunity for you to continue to work together, you will jump at it and not think about money. You will just jump at it and just not think about money. So let me come to you, Nene, and I'll come back to Ebenezer. Again, from an evidence base, CIPD in 2023, they highlighted that manager behavior, the behavior of the manager is a determinant of employee engagement and well-being. Well-being. For you, um, you work in a very male-dominated system. My question to you is this: how does sustained exposure to weak managerial capability, how does this shape the employee behavior over time? How does, the leader, this manager is very weak, his capability is weak. How does that exposure, sustained exposure of the team members, how does it shape their behavior over time?
Thank you. And I like the word, I want to emphasize the word shape their behaviors over time. Again, since I know this is not a leadership class, but again, it's one of those ones that we can bring in leadership quotes and all that. So it was in 2024 that I attended one of those leadership trainings somewhere. And in one of the booklets that was handed over to me was this quote, but was it from a Bonaparte? I can't remember the name very well, but um, that quote was very, I don't know which word to use, but let me just try to paraphrase it. He said, a leader is a dealer in hope. So I'm
That's
going to
right.
pause that one there so that we'll come back to the question that you have asked me. So a weak manager, and if I say a weak manager here, we're not trying to castigate someone's person, but it's just that in the space of work, this person hasn't really optimized his skills to lead people. And over time, we begin to see the cracks. They begin to fall in. The first thing we will notice is reduced discretionary efforts by employees or the downline. So nobody wants to put in their best anymore. Nobody really wants to care that much anymore. So they will just do the minimum
Mm.
because the line manager is not sustaining the tempo for them. The line manager is not actually leading them the way it should be. Actually, we said that a leader is a dealer in hope. So in this case, that hope is not being sustained. If I
Right.
should
Mm.
put it that
That's
way.
right.
Then again, you talk about disengagement. The employees will be totally disengaged from what the line manager is saying, not just limited to what the line manager is saying, but to the organization as a whole. So we see that crack coming in. You are talking about projects to run and all that, and the employees are not looking in that direction because you, as a manager, you have not been leading them the way it should be. Okay. Another one is we begin to see high rate of voluntary turnover. People are,
Right.
resigning, and they wouldn't tell you the reason why they are resigning. Some of them may confide in others to say, I'm not sure I'm getting along with this line manager anymore, or I don't understand the leadership of this line manager anymore. So these are some of the cracks we see everywhere. And I
Mm.
remember in one of my recent studies, we analyzed this popular book, Surrounded by Bad Bosses and Lazy Employees. So you see some of these things being highlighted there. So these are some of the things that if in an organization, we as HR practitioners or other professionals on this call, if we begin to witness this in a particular department or in an organization as a whole, it's like a wake-up call to know that something is wrong about the leadership of the
Mm.
organization,
Mm.
and
Mm.
someone needs to quickly step in to save the
Right.
day, or else it turns into another thing. Thank you.
I like that. They should step in to save the day. Otherwise, it gets going. That reminds me of a book written by John Cotter. It's titled "How Stella Saved the Farm." How Stella Saved the Farm is a fable. Is a fable that was talking about how to lead and create change in the workplace. And the fable, that book is very solid. How Stella Saved the Farm. And the quote you made was attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yes,
Napoleon
yes. Thank you
Bonaparte.
for helping me, Napoleon Bonaparte. Too.
Napoleon Bonaparte. He said that he said a leader is a dealer in hope. You were very spot on when you said it. A leader is is a dealer in hope. I mean, the aspiration of the people is there. He ensures that people get things done very well. Thank you so much, Nene. Um, I'm going to call Ebenezer now. Ebenezer, just still speaking to the issues of organizational consequences. In 2023, the International Labour Organization (ILO) linked poor work design and pressure to declining work quality, increased errors at work. That work that is poorly designed and the pressure on work, particularly workload, they can see the correlation between these two things to declining work quality and increased errors. In fact, reading this makes me wonder why people in the school system, they always study when you see final year projects or master's thesis projects and all that. People don't study this kind of things. You always study the effect of training on performance, the effect of clinical on that one. I don't think people really go deep into these kinds of issues. But for us as practitioners and poor work design, workload pressure, we can see the correlation between it and declining work quality and increasing errors at work. My question to you is this, Ebenezer. How does the managerial capability, the ability of the manager, how does it influence these outcomes?
All right, thank you, Doctor. Okay, so for me, taking from the last conversation, last time we spoke here, you bring in a new staff. And then one of the things we highlighted was that the onboarding process has a lot to do on the outcome of what the staff becomes. If you call someone a manager, the onboarding process to being a manager has a lot of influence to how their performance turns out. And what this directly influences is the outcome for the company, the outcome for the organizations. And for me, what it really means is how do you start to see the gaps? If the job is not clearly defined, you start to have team members who don't understand the role, who don't understand the job they're supposed to do, who are not able to consolidate the KPIs. And then you see them try to do something over and over again. And that just attributes to the rework rate we see in a lot of organizations. I've worked in
Right.
team where you submit a report and you have to go back and forth 5, 6 times on one report. And when you trace it back, you realize that at the root of it, there is this vagueness in defining what the expectations are in the real sense of it. So rework rate is one of the key things that starts to show when you have weak managers like Nene said. Another thing that begin to show is inefficiencies in the coordination of the team. Last year, I had 2 strong team members leave my team, and it was in the peak period of our sales. And working in the commercial team, we were basically responsible for everything, the commercial outcome of the company. And I sat to myself and said, if these 2 key people have left, how do we keep the team together? How do we keep the company together to still achieve the goals we've set for the year? And all I had to do was just re-coordinate the whole team, bring people from what they have been specialized on, have a broad conversation to say, okay, this is our goal, and this is how we intend to achieve it with the people who are present. So clarity in defining these job processes helps the team members to understand. When the opposite is what happens, you now have a lot of discoordinated effort everywhere. And what this does is just create massive inefficiencies in the team. And inefficiencies in the team translates directly to the outcomes of the organization. And lastly on that is also decision delays. You have managers where to get approvals is an uphill task. You send a mail for approval. What this does really is it creates some level of disconnection with your team. So they work, they've not gotten a feedback on whether it's to go ahead or to pause or to review. And then the work keeps piling up. And by the time you are getting back on them with your approval, is probably they moved on to another job. And what you have this time around is now creating disgruntled employees who feel, oh, I've given you so much to this work, and then you're asking me to go and redo it all over again. So the rework rate is critical, is one of the key things that shows in the managerial capabilities. Coordination inefficiencies is also one of the key highlights of this. Also, delays in decision making is also something that shows when you have weak managers on board in an organization.
Right. Thank you so much, Ebenezer. And I like what we are. I think I like what we are doing here, and I really like the fact that we are trying to We're helping organizations see the consequence of managerial capability. And there was something you said, Nene, when you initially spoke, where you said you went for a leadership training, and then another thing you said about your own self-development. I mean, Ebenezer, you referenced last month's workplace conversation. It's obvious that you people are paying attention to growth. They're paying attention to growth. The leader, like Anshe said, the leader that is not paying attention to growing will cause his team members to groan. Let me speak like Bishop Oyedepo, right? If you don't grow, you will groan. I mean, that's what's happening. You find that organizations are groaning not because there's no opportunity in the market, not because there is no chance to win in the market, because the manager, the person who's supposed to be a broker, the dealer in hope, is hopeless himself. You know, he's not helping us to see what we need to see. And so managerial capability then directly influences organizational efficiency. You are doing rework and rework and rework. Imagine a programmer not paying attention and the manager misses out on critical elements that he's supposed to see. You then deploy such a software, you deploy the software to the client and it's not delivering value. You know what happens? You come back and spend another set of hours. What you could have shortened by a 30-minute or 1 hour intervention for clarity, you've missed it, and then you're coming back again, and that affects the reputation of the organization. The manager is not delivering very well. It's not just about results not coming out. The reputation of the organization before the client, and then again the culture, because Nene, you spoke about exposure, how when people get sustained exposure to this kind of weak leaders, what it does for them is that they don't just care. After all, the man will not read it. After all, he doesn't even see anything in this. After all, by the time you get all the after alls, you have lost the organization simply because you sustained critical talent, great talent. You sustained them to a bad leader. You sustain them to a weak leader. And as they see the leader, they see that the model before them is not a sharp one. They take bearing from there, like they say in NYSC. You take bearing from there. Thank you very much to both of you. And I like to invite our participants on the call, maybe one or two persons. You just want to share a thought on the consequences, what you have seen and experienced as a consequence of bad leadership or weak. Let's not call it bad leadership. I think the conversation here is weak, not bad, but weak leadership. What have you seen? What have you heard? What do you have to say about weak leadership? I wish Chinwe Uzu could speak today. I really wish she could, because so much of you have been heard. It would be good to tap into the wisdom that you possess, Chinwe, what have you observed? What have you really observed about the weak leadership, weak managers? The weak managers produce weak, talented superstars. If a weak manager has talent, great talent, what does that talent become under a weak manager? I mean, Chinwe, if that's a question for you, I don't mind if you can respond to it. But if you cannot speak, it's also understandable. You don't want to take the shine off Nene, right?
I don't
but,
know.
but that's a question. George, are you there? Mr. George Oguni, are you there? George, yes, you are here. Are you? Okay, I really wish the audience could speak and I'm not left alone to my audience. It's a workplace conversation, so it's not
So
just
I
about
think
us.
I think one of the downsides of a weak
Thank
manager
you,
is the
Shay.
fact that the company will be losing valuable employee. So I used to work in a law firm, and when I got in as a network guy, the person that was the director of IT, even me that I was reporting to her, I knew more than her. And she was the director because she's been in the company for 30 years. So they just transitioned her to IT because everybody left and they made her the most senior, they made her director. So I was teaching
Wow.
her, Auntie, you do this way. No, no, no. And I was literally teaching her what to do. When we have an incident, I will be the one to walk her through the process. Eventually, I mean, but when they go to meetings, she will talk. But when they ask her to do something, she'll come back to me and say, Paul, they said we should do this. How do we do it? So at some point, I got frustrated because I mean, I was earning significantly lower than you are, and I'm the one doing your work. So at some point, I started applying for job elsewhere, and I left. So when I left, they started calling me back. Oh, do you want to work with us contract? Do you want to work with us part time? Do you want to do this? But I had to leave because I was just giving a lot more than I was getting. I'll be working into the night, working into the weekend. Just things that, assuming my manager knows what they do, they go into the meeting, they talk, and they do what they have to do. So the organization eventually did, I have to leave, and then I couldn't work with them again. But eventually, the organization was one that lost at the end of the day, because if they had put in
Right.
effort into growing, like getting someone that were more skillful in their role to where they had, of course, I probably would have still been there, but it was just really frustrating. So the company would lose at the end of the day.
Thank you, Shay. Thank you. And I like your perspectives. I'm penning you down for one of our workplace conversations to bring you up. Chinwe is up. Yes, Chinwe, let's hear you.
Yes. My apologies, please. I was busy with something else and was struggling to unmute.
Okay.
And you moved
We're
on to
privileged to
someone
have you
else.
here.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for this very insightful session. And thanks, Nene, for sharing the invite to be a part of this. Nene knows me well because I actually started out in HR before I moved into regulatory affairs.
Right.
And seeing what has happened through my years in the corporate organizations where I have worked, it's very clear that the wrong leadership portends so much negative aspects or negative outcomes for any organization. Not just do you end up losing out on great talents who have to move on because they cannot stay on in a toxic environment due to the wrong or bad leadership. But you also find that you retain the wrong kind of talent, and down the line, the business begins to go down. And you actually have found that several great organizations, due to the wrong leadership, over time, performance begins to drop, market share begins to drop. I'm glad to see someone from a rough and tumble here. He knows the kind of competitive environment, the fashion industry, both for children, which they mostly manage, and for adults. And if you cannot sustain the right talent in terms of those who support the critical aspects of your business, you find that you end up losing those talents to competition, or having them living disgruntled and becoming competition to you. And eventually you begin to lose out on your market share, and it just goes downhill from there. So the right leadership, the right managers leading the right teams just sustains the business and enables it to grow and not grown, like you just pointed out a while ago. So that's just my take on it. It's very important that organizations recognize when there is an issue with some managers or some of their leaders, which may be affecting the business negatively. By the time you start having good talent, leaving unceremoniously or abruptly without much explanation, especially from specific departments, you need to begin to ask questions. You need to begin to investigate to understand what is going on. I think that's my take on it.
There's depth in what you said, and I mean, in my head, I'm beginning to look out for what's the title for the next workplace conversation. What's the title for the next place work conversation? Because I hear you say things that I've not really thought about before. One critical thing, two things that jumped at me was, one, you'll be retaining weak talent, the wrong people. It is still talent retention, but these are not the kind of people you want to keep back in the organization. I just started seeing myself saying, talent retention, who are you keeping? Who are you retaining? Who are you keeping back in the organization? And why are they staying back? Because the people who have left, why have they left? That's very spot on, Matt. Thank you so much. The second thing you said that jumped at me is that the good people leave you and they become your competition. Oh my God, I have not heard it like that before. You've just found out that the people who leave you, if you have not been able to provide an environment for them to flourish, they begin to compete with you in the same space that you are intending to use, that you intended to use them to increase your market share. You wanted them to help you increase your market share. Now you did not do well with them. They step out, and that's a market share you're trying to get a lot of. They are not competing with you in it. Again, Amazing. Now I know why Nene stuck with you. I'm coming after you, if you will permit me, if you will take me under your wings as well. I mean, I just want to get a very open confirmation from you that you are willing to take me under your wings as well. Chinwe, will you commit before this house that you will take me under your wings for tutelage? If you do, say yes, I do.
There
You
shall
mo-
be some commercial value attached to it.
no, now don't speak on behalf of Chinwe. She's struggling to unmute.
All right.
Chinwe, I will not let you go until you confirm that you are willing to take me on.
I am willing. That's if my wings are wide enough to accommodate you. But just know I'm there.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Amazing. I've gotten, you don't lose these kind of opportunities. I got Auntie Sheyi on the call. I got Chinwe on the call. Am I not blessed? Nene, thank you. Thank you. That's some value you've added to me tonight. Okay, let's get back to our conversation, and we must close very shortly because people have to get ready for work. Again, like I said, the reason we do workplace conversations Sunday evening is so that we can shape the readiness of our minds for the work that we go into from Monday. We don't want to do it on Fridays. We don't want to do it because people are getting ready for the weekend. We don't want to do it on Saturdays. People are resting. But by Sunday afternoon, somehow, somewhere, you're already preparing for your Monday meetings and team briefings and all of that. Again, that's why we do this, so that you can have a right frame, a right mindset for the world of work the next day. Let's come to systems responsibility. Ebenezer, I'm going to start with you this time around. The World Economic Forum in 2024, they highlighted leadership capability as a priority skill. There's a document I would recommend for everyone to read. It's called the Future of Jobs report. It's a World Economic Forum report, Future of Jobs 2025 report. I think I've read that material. I've torn it back and forth because I'm doing a Future of Jobs report for Nigeria. Okay, it's a research that I've been doing for almost a year now. Future of Jobs report for Nigeria is if I hit it well, if I get it done well, I mean maybe I'll compete with World Economic Forum and they will call me to say, hey guy, since you've done that for Nigeria, don't you want to collaborate with us on a global level? Maybe that's why I'm stretching myself on that. I like to compete with those kind of guys. I like to write my reports like the Deloitte, the McKinseys. I don't like to write it like the Guguru sellers. No, that's not it. That's not where I want to be. So for the World Economic Forum, right? The World Economic Forum, they said in 2024 that leadership capability is a priority skill. Ebenezer, how should organizations redesign their managerial pipeline to align with these requirements? I mean, Auntie Sheyi said she would prefer to use the word leadership. Nene kept interchangeably and intermittently using the word leadership, and she kept saying this is not a leadership class. It is a leadership class. We're talking about leadership capability. So, I mean, you're permitted to talk about leadership. Ebenezer, how do you think systems responsibility, what we're focusing on, how should organizations redesign their managerial pipeline?
All right, thank you, Doctor. Well, it's time to be a leadership class. Managers are leaders, whether we like it or not. They are key pillars in any organization. So for an organization to redesign their managerial pipeline, for me, I think it starts with assessing their readiness. Let's stop promoting based on skill set alone. Let's stop promoting based on their technical capabilities alone. Before you make anybody a manager, are you assessing them? Are you testing their emotional intelligence? Are you assessing their communication skills? Are you assessing their coaching abilities? Are you assessing how they are able to make decisions under pressure? Are you assessing their leadership styles? Because all of these are what comes to play in the role as a manager. So you need to assess all of this. You need to assess how they manage people, how they manage projects through people. Because if they are not able to do that, what you find out is a task is there to do and they cannot get it done through people, and then they take on all the workload by themselves. And then that starts to lead to levels of delays and levels of incompetencies along the line. So first is assessing their readiness. Second for me is understanding the capability pathways. And what does that mean for me? It's the true test of being a manager. How are you able to make them understand it? How do you assess their business results? And what it means is you measure managers differently from the way you are going to measure other team members. And you are not just measuring them based on the results at the end of the day. You are measuring them based on how they're able to retain their team members. That's their retention rate for the team. You are also appraising them based on their team members' development, how they're able to develop their team. You're assessing them based on what I call succession readiness. So if the manager is not around, is work still able to go on within the team? All of this, it just goes beyond making people understand that work is beyond just the technical abilities. It's deeply rooted in leadership. And lastly, it's on the accountability structures, which for me is how do you hold your managers accountable? If a manager keeps losing top talents, there should be something that triggers an investigation. You should call the managers to ask why are your top talents leaving you, because it shows that you are not able to keep competent people on the team, and that's a red flag for being a manager. How do you the people conversation? How does it come up with them as managers? How your team members? How do you grow them? How do you assess them? Those that cannot match up, what are the developmental plans you have for them? That's where to think as a manager, and that's really where you need to start to hold managers accountable beyond just the technical capabilities. So for me, managers should not just be assessed based on the results. They should be assessed based on the people they're able to grow, the people they're able to keep, and how they're able to get the results at the end of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Ebenezer. I like the way you said it. Readiness assessments. Ready now, ready later. That's what succession planning says. So in succession planning, there are people that must be ready now, and then there are people that will be ready later. But the readiness of the manager, how ready is this manager for this role? There's a principle we call in management, we call it the Peters principle. The Peters principle in management says you're promoting people to their level of incompetence. Promoting people to their level of incompetence. I mean, Sheyi was very spot on when he said sometimes you find out that people have come to lead at what we call circumstantial leaders. Everybody above them has left, right? All the good people around them have left. Look at what I just said. Everybody above them have left. Those around them have left. And then they are not able to bring new people. And then this person has what we call longevity. So this person has historical knowledge, historical whatever it is about the organization. And so somehow the organization is compelled to compensate. You are compensating for longevity. You're using leadership positions to compensate for longevity. Unfortunately, they are going to stifle the organization. I mean, look at the fantastic soul and professional like Sheyi having to leave because he sees that there's a problem. Legacy staff, and Sheyi, thank you. Legacy staff. You have legacy staff that they can't go. They have become the ancient and modern, right? You have the ancient people working there, and they don't have the competencies, but they've got the longevity. That impacts us negatively. Nene, I want to come to you, and as we try to wrap up tonight, and I'm glad, I'm very grateful to you all for staying on. I'm thankful to my speakers and to all those who have brought in their experiences, all the great leaders that we have here that have brought their expertise to bear. I'm grateful for them. Nene, for you, right, I want to find out which organizational systems determine whether managers are equipped for their roles. Which systems really can tell us this guy is set, this guy is ready for this role? You have led. You have been a manager of talents. You have been a manager. You have been a midwife, and you have been transitioning leaders from people who are not leaders to start to manage people and teams like that. What do you think are the systems that determine whether their managers are equipped for the roles that we put them into?
So we start off by looking at the selection criteria. We look at their behavioral competency architecture. Do they have the competency? Do they have, in terms of behavioral competency, do they have emotional intelligence? Are they able to manage emotions of others? Then they balance it with the work that they assign to them to do. Beyond that, in selecting people to become managers, what is our data saying? What is their historical record? Okay, and that is number one. Number two, we look into our promotion thresholds. That's you promote people based on merit. And it shouldn't be about, how do I put it now? You mentioned the word, the Peter principle, which is promoting people to incompetence or something like that. But
Yes.
no, we move people to the next position in terms of their readiness to move to that position. And them being ready would be evident in how they lead in projects, how they manage conflicts in the organization or within the team members, how they apply resources that have been assigned to them to use in the course of delivering a project or another task, how they, every day ensure that they drive productivity. I'm just talking about the things that we look at in terms of data before we can move people from one position to another. Then the last thing to speak to about this particular one is the level of development programs we are doing for these managers. Who is also mentoring them? A manager is a manager, yes, but it doesn't stop there for them. There should be those programs are mapped out to develop them, leading others, leading teams. We need to have these programs in place for them. And when we put all these things together, we find out that we are able to find the right persons to be in the right positions. I'll rest my case here. Thank you.
Is it your case? Is I rest my case?
Yeah.
Amazing, Nene. I mean, I like the part that you've said selection criteria becomes very critical. The criteria, what exactly are we looking at? I wish this conversation was a longer one, and it was a workshop. I would have just said, can we begin to list it so that people who are on this call, if they are preparing to go into leadership, they can begin to tell that these are the things they need to look out for. And you mentioned a few of them. Emotional intelligence. I think Ebenezer also mentioned emotional intelligence, the ability to also design work. And you need to know how to design work. You see, many of us don't know how to design work. Delegation also, you've talked about delegation. You having to let people take a portion of the work that you have, a portion of the work that you must do. I mean, how do you design the work? How do you delegate the work? And then decision making is another critical thing. How have they made decisions? You said something very spot on. You said, let's look at our database, our data. What does our data say about these kinds of people? So antecedents becomes a very critical thing also to consider when we're getting these people into roles. Somebody who, before his last promotion, he was on maybe PIP, or somebody who was maybe not even PIP, maybe he or she caused us a delay. I mean, it's been consistently delaying, his decision making is poor, and maybe he makes it across all the things, but those social skills, what we call soft skills, you mentioned it again. You said soft skills. Those soft skills are the hardcore things for the organization, and I can see in the chat more competencies are being dropped there. Yes. Social influence, collaborative capability, your ability to deliver results through people, those things are there, and critical things. I also liked how you landed on promotion thresholds. Let's not reward presence, let's reward results. I always say to leaders, acknowledge efforts but reward results. Acknowledge effort but only reward results. Please don't reward effort. I mean, that you have tried is not enough. That you have tried, I tried to sell, but you have not sold. I tried to. I tried to. If this is your best, then it's not what I want. I want more. I want more. The KPIs help us to set thresholds for people. But many a time, there's always some kind of, okay, let's normalize it. How well did the people perform this organization this year? I mean, as much as that is it, but again, remember we said the leaders, the managers are responsible for the result that the organization wants to see. And I like what you said about development programs. Who is coaching your manager? Who is getting them ready for the future? Who is getting them ready? And for those of you on the call, perhaps you are getting ready to become a manager, or you are already a manager, you're leading teams. The question for you is, what are your development programs? Personal development. If your organization will not sponsor you, please note, you are not only going to be available to your organization in your career. A time will come, you have to be available to other people. And when you become available to other people, they will find either your strength or your weakness. Today, a number of us are doing work across industries, and you can tell when you are weak. You can tell when you're strong. Some of us are moving from one company to another, one institution to another, and you can tell. Some people have not moved from the organization. You know why? They are not sure anybody can take them the way they are. They are not sure anybody can tolerate their nonsense. They are not sure anybody else can tolerate their weaknesses. Sometimes I tell my friends, try to see if you are good. Go for an interview. And in preparing for the interview, you will know that you are not good enough. In fact, in attending the interview, you can tell that, hey, when you are in there, you have a long way to go. You have a long way to go. Some people have been so caught up with the work that they have not paid attention to their growth. And tonight, one of the driving thing we've said, the central thing we're saying is grow, my people, grow. And for the younger people here, don't try to jump up into positions. Don't jump into positions. Somebody once said, if you jump up, you will come down. But if you grow up, you will stay up. Let me take a final question from my panelists, and then we'll close tonight so we can go and rest and refresh on these things. Again, both of you have done very well. I mean, I knew it was going to be this exciting. I knew I was expecting the perspectives, I was expecting the strength. What I did not prepare for were the additional voices that came from the room. Chinwe's voice, Shei's voice. Okay, two Sheis have spoken, and the Shei's voice. I mean, those voices were great. For me, I've just become an adopted professional son as a colleague, as the case is now. And I'm glad that that's an addition from this meeting. And to everyone who has joined this call, I want to say thank you to you, and I hope you are taking something for the future. I'm going to close now with close our panel session and take a few announcements before we go. But before then, if you're checking in the chat, Joshua has dropped a couple of links for you. He's dropped the access to my Money Muse videos. You may want to just click on the link. You can't copy or take a screenshot. It's going to be a lot of work for you. Just click on the links. It will take you. Just leave them as you click. You can go back to the site afterward. Becoming a consultant to Kings. The playlist is there as well. Previous personal transformation seminars we've had. You want to go there. Previous sessions of workplace conversation. This is the 13th edition, and it's an explosive one already. The public speaking master classes that we have had, I think we've had about 2 or 3, 2024, 25, 26, 3 of them. The last one being the one we had on how to make money from speaking. And then you can gain access to my Instagram handle, quite a number of resources there as well. Phrases and Insight Instagram handle is also there for you. But most importantly, my website. If you go to my website, you can get access to all of these things from my website. My website, Oludayo.com. And thanks to Joshua, who built that website for me at no costs. Well, I don't know if there's a fee that he has been drawing from me. I didn't know, but at least he didn't charge me with an invoice. Thank you so much, Joshua. Very shortly, I'm going to share with you the links for the events we're having next month and in July. But before then, let's try to close this out with my panelists. So, my people, what actions must organizations now prioritize to strengthen their managerial capability? Imagine that there is a CEO or a COO or a senior leader here on this call. What do they need to do now? What do they need to prioritize immediately to strengthen their managerial capability? And I think another vein for that question would be, for the gentleman and for the lady that is a manager here, what do they need to do to strengthen their capabilities immediately? over to you. Do we say ladies first or ladies first after men? Nene, go first.
Ladies first.
Nene, go
So,
first. You are wearing something black. Ebenezer has got the black on his skin, so let's take you first.
okay. So, those things that organizations would look into immediately after this, or anyone on this call who are in the position of leadership can do to strengthen the leadership capabilities in the organization is number one is to define the competency framework for the organization, define the capability framework, and begin to see who actually fits into which. And that's one. Ebenezer, I will leave some for you to speak on, okay? Another one is to enforce
Okay.
standards. Yes, we need to enforce standards. We cannot just accept any form of performance. We cannot just accept any form of culture. We cannot just accept any form of, how do I put it now? Work, but we need to define things. We need to define an acceptable behavior. We need to also define the picture of our success. Let me put it that way. If we're talking about performance management now, we need to define how we work and how we do our things. Ebenezer, let me allow you to speak on the other ones. Okay. Thank you because of time.
Thank you, Nene.
All right, thank you,
Go ahead.
Nene. For me, I would say that whether as an organization or as an individual, you need to invest in development. Training is, you need to learn how to be a manager. You need to learn how to be a leader. I usually will tell my team members, for you to drive, you learn how to drive. So how come you want to be good at what you're doing without learning how to do it? So organizations need to invest in development at all levels. As individuals, you need to invest in training, self-development, take courses, take leadership trainings, take leadership assessment to even know your style of leadership. That's going to help you a great deal. Secondly, for me, organization is for them to be able to measure outcomes. I've said there that don't just don't appraise managers or leaders based on their technical capabilities alone. It needs to go beyond that. How is their team faring? What are the outcomes of their styles, their managerial styles on the organizational goals? You need to be able to measure these things. You need to, for them to know that everything I'm doing, this is the translation in practical terms, in financial terms, in the people I'm working with. So to summarize it for me, invest in development. You need to learn things. You need to learn to be a leader. You need to learn to be a good leader. Then organizations need to start measuring outcomes for leaders. And of course, Daniel has mentioned there has to be clarity to these things. So they also know what you are measuring out for them. They know the outcomes that they are really going to be appraised by, not just that, oh, I know how to do the work. That's not the only thing it takes to be a manager. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. What a day, what an evening. To say that this is the last day of the month of May and we're going to a new month, it's my way of saying happy new month to you. But can we just, in the chat, can we just applaud our panelists, please? Can you just help me applaud them? Ebenezer, somebody saying it's nice to see you again in the chat. Sheyi Adeyemi said it's nice to see you. Do you know him, Sheyi Adeyemi? Do you remember him?
Of course, I
Okay.
remember Shay. Shay, it's good to
Sheyi
see you
said
here too.
Ebenezer has not moved to HR. He's still he's now in sales. He's just selling. Can you all please help me applaud them in the chat? Can you applaud them? Thank you so much. Let's applaud our speakers. Let's applaud all the contributions that we have also received from our great leaders here. I am poised and I'm going to do this before the end of the year. I'm going to do an all-female conference on this one. I mean, I'm going to do an all-female conference, bring Auntie Shay, bring Auntie Chinwe, and bring many more ladies to a conversation. I'm going to do something I've captioned female. In my head now, I just call it female. Frontline execution, making advancing leadership happen, something like that. Female, I'm just going to give you a name. So it's going to happen. And I'm giving you notice ahead of time. I'm giving Auntie Chinwe Auntie Shay, I'm giving you notice ahead of time. We're going to do something this year. We're going to title it Female Frontline Execution, making something for leadership. I'm going to bring both of you and maybe more things. I'm just going to create something, Sha. Somebody said I'm a king of acronyms. Yes. So, Nene, Ebenezer, thank you so much for your time. It's been a great privilege having you here. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you for showing us that growth is really what brings about success. Let's close with a few announcements and I'll close out very shortly. Again, if you look very closely, the link is there. I'm sure Joshua is going to pick up that link and drop in the chat for you. You want to register now for the June 2026 Personal Transformation Seminar. We're going to be talking about becoming a value-adding person. I'm going to be sharing with you very clearly 6 zones for value creation. 6 zones for value creation. It's explosive. It's explosive. 6 zones for value creation. How do you create value across 6 zones, no matter what you do, across geography? So it's a personal transformation seminar, and I'm hoping that you will join us. Seller.com/PTS June/26. Okay, Joshua, have you picked it up? You can just drop it in the chat. That's it. That's the link for I'm leaving it on the screen so that you all can pick as well. Okay, I've dropped it. Okay, thank you. You register now. It's free. It's free. It's free. The next event happening in July. Thank you, Joshua, for dropping it there. The next event happening in July is the Producing Better Results Media Review Seminar. And this event, trust me, the idea for this event is just so that we can check in. Call it check-in. Nene and Ebenezer can relate to check-in. It's just to check in and to be sure that you are on track for the things you set out to do in 2026. So it's our media review of producing better results. You want to do that and check in with yourself. It's also free. It's in July 25, 2026. Is a Sunday. Again, I'm inviting you to join me on that day. Before I close, let's just have a final thought from my end. So far, thank you so much again, all the contributors. The evidence across the year's conversation that we have had here establishes a very clear pattern. Number one, the Nigerian Labor Force Survey shows that there's a structural labor market pressure. That's very evident. There's a pressure on the labor market. The Consumer Price Index for 2025 also reflects a sustained economic pressure. So there's pressure from the market for labor market. There's sustained economic pressure. And the workplace and global studies have also confirmed increasing complexity in work design. I think one of the biggest problems we're having right now in the world of work is designing work. Many people want to work freely. I know someone was talking to me earlier today saying, I want a fractional job. I don't want to do 9 to 5 anymore. Okay, so there's complexity in work design. There are people who would love to do work for just for a bit. Can I do 3 hours with you in the morning and go and do 4 hours somewhere else and draw value from both organizations? Okay, so we're in that season where complexity in work design and execution is coming up. And within these conditions, we have discussed today that managerial capability determines how the work is structured, how the efforts of the people are directed, and how performance is released. And this really would drive the next stage of our inquiry. I haven't read from the World Economic Forum report of 2024 that says that continuous learning and reskilling is critical for organizational competitiveness. And we have seen from some of the LinkedIn workplace learning reports that shows that organizations investing in learning systems, they achieve stronger performance than and retention outcomes. And that will lead us to our next question. I'm not going to unveil Workplace Conversation 14.0, but you can imagine what I'm about to think about. It's about learning and development. How do people learn? How do people learn? Maybe that's going to be in August. We're not having anyone June and July because of the two seminars we're having. So maybe in August we'll be talking about how to learn, how to invest in learning and development so that you can bring forth value to the table. I want to thank our panelists and thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. Final word from me is to say Happy New Month. Happy New Month to you. It's a new month of fresh ideas, a new month for career growth, a new month for opportunities that align with your professional goals. That's what we wish you. That's what I wish you, Oludayo, and that's what Nathan Leadgate wishes you. Having said that, thank you, everyone. Have a very good night rest and
Thank
succeed
you.
at work tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Doc.
sir.